Hello and welcome to Norwich Talk. I'm Samuel Seaman and this is my review of Norwich City's 2-1 win at Cardiff. So it was a classic game of two halves really. Norwich sort of comfortable in the first half, dominated play but not necessarily possession. I think they had 51% possession at half time. Two early goals sort of saw off Cardiff. Hanley got one after 3 minutes, a Vrancic flick on from a corner, and then he sort of a diving header from about 1 yard out. His first goal since late 2018 against West Brom, I believe that was. Then Todd Cantwell got the second. Jordan Hugo had a shot saved, and it fell to him to tap in. Well adjusted and found the net. Cardiff got a sort of gave themselves a lifeline in the second half. 65 minutes gone. Joe Rules found the corner of Daniel Barden's net, and then they had their sort of chances reduced with a red card for Marlon Pack, who had been pretty good throughout the match, but two mistimed challenges, both got yellow cards, and he didn't really have anything to complain about when he got sent off. Cardiff continued to press and try and find the equaliser, and they looked quite dangerous, especially from set pieces and crosses and long balls, but Norwich managed to hold firm and get the result. So something quite a lot of us were shocked by when the team news came out was that Jordan Hugo started and Tamer Pukki wasn't even on the bench. That came out as a side strain. I'm not quite sure what one of those actually is, and it sounds quite... well, it doesn't sound worrying. It sounds like quite a short-term injury, but it's a bit confusing because if it was down his side and it wasn't his ribs, I'm not quite sure what that injury is to. But Jordan Hugo, to his credit, wasn't too bad. Played sort of how you'd expect, but got involved a bit more than usual. Maybe that was because Norwich needed to cling on to a lead and they needed that focal point to sort of take the ball to the corner and get them up the pitch when Cardiff were coming onto them. He played that role quite well, apart from a handball with, I think, after the end of injury time had been signalled. He did that classic fall over and hold the ball and hope for a foul. The ref called his bluff and gave a handball. It was a good chance for Cardiff to get the ball in the box, and Hugo would have looked quite silly if they would have scored from it. As it was, they didn't, and I think he'll be happy with his performance. Probably should have had a goal, but it ended up creating the chance for Cantwell, and his first touch actually was really good. It was a nice pass from Kenny McLean into the box, slightly behind Hugo, who put it into his path with a lovely touch on his left foot. His shot, not great, sort of straight at the goalkeeper, but it was poor from the goalkeeper. He parried it straight to Cantwell, who finished well, and that was probably the highlight in a really good performance by the number 14. I thought he was really impressive actually. I've been the first to criticise him when he hasn't played well, and I've called him inconsistent this season, but if he can keep performing against all the other teams the way that he has against Cardiff, then Norwich are in for a treat really, because he was excellent. He made two key passes in the game, wasn't successfully tackled, obviously got the goal. It was actually quite a well adjusted finish, although it looked like a tap in. There was a sort of fair distance to the goal and there was enough room for it to go wrong. It came at him at quite a fair pace, and he did well to adjust himself before tapping in, and to get in that position was commendable as well. I don't think we would have seen Buendia in that sort of position had it happened on the other side. And as I said, credit has to go to Jordan Hugo for his first touch to set up the shot for himself, and although he should have finished, he can take some credit for the goal. I think defensively Cantwell was also really good, not necessarily in sort of keeping Cardiff out. I remember a lapse in concentration when Bakuna got in sort of early on down the right hand side, slipped in between Cantwell and Sorensen. But apart from that, I thought his pressing was really good. Won the ball high up the pitch twice, up against defenders who you would have said were the favourites physically. But he battled and he worked really hard, and I just wish we would see this more often. This Todd Cantwell, and it's difficult to really put your finger on why he doesn't consistently perform like this, especially at Championship level, which he's clearly good enough for, and maybe even too good for. But two performances against Cardiff this season have both been absolutely magnificent. Definitely my man of the match on the day, and I'm going to give him credit where it's due, and he was absolutely excellent and should be really proud. Probably won the game for Norwich when you look at the fine margins that were involved by 90 minutes. Another player who I thought impressed was Mario Vrancic. He made the most successful tackles in the game with 3, a significant defensive contribution from a player who quite a lot of people see as only really an attacking threat and an option from that point of view. He also obviously got the assist, a clever flick towards the back post. He was probably trying to score, but he set up Grant Hanley on a plate really, and that was really good from him. He also had a good effort saved at the near post from a free kick just before that corner. I think he might have actually won the corner with that effort. So yeah, it was really good from him. I thought he gave Norwich a sort of calmness in the middle. Cantwell and Buendia are excellent players, and they are very creative, but they always want to go forward and they always want to make things happen. Vrancic has that sort of patience, and if something's not on, he'll wait and he'll keep the ball, and he'll sort of drag the defenders out, and then eventually something will happen, and he definitely has the technical ability to pick out that pass when it does. An interesting narrative that I thought this match played into was the sort of, do Norwich deserve to be top of the table one? We just discussed that on the Norwich Talk podcast. I think that's the last video on the channel if you want to go and look at me and Alfie and Ben discuss that in more detail. And I think it was one you could see either way really. I think first half the pressing was really good. I don't think for the whole match, I don't think at any point the sort of fluent passing and movement really was a factor, but the pressing was definitely really good in the first half, and they created opportunities, oddly from set pieces, which I think we were all expecting Cardiff to sort of worry us with, which they did in the end. But I don't think any of us would have expected Norwich to get a goal from a set piece in this game, and certainly not to threaten as much as they did in the first sort of half an hour from those. But I suppose with Jordan Hugo coming into the team, you could say that was a factor, although I don't actually remember him getting on the end of any crosses. And Cardiff were missing Sean Morrison, who I said was their biggest threat going into the match. Thankfully he was out. I'm not quite sure why. I probably should have done more research on that, but it was Bennett, the left back, who ended up at centre back, and that might have contributed to Norwich's ability to cause problems for Cardiff from set pieces. I think second half was very disappointing. You go in at half time 2-0 up at Cardiff, clearly the superior side, and you're thinking, this could be the one, and we're all waiting for that one, and we keep talking about when eventually the sort of thrashing is going to fall into place, and I thought this might be the one. Maybe if we would have had Tammy Pukki or a couple of other players that were out, maybe we would have done. But I think it ended up being quite nervy, and it didn't really need to be. Norwich panicked basically as soon as Cardiff scored, and that goal was avoidable. I think Grant Hanley probably could have done more to stop it, and Cardiff were playing with the ball sort of around the area and had a lot of time on it, and I think Norwich probably could have dealt with that. Unfortunately they didn't, and then they panicked. Up until the red card, I think there was a lot of worry, a lot of sort of nerves and long balls when we could have just kept the ball and passed it. But I think it's unfortunate really. Maybe Tim Krul, with his vocal presence and also his ability to stay calm on the ball, even in pressure situations, I think that could have been key. Daniel Barden was really good, I thought, again. Made no mistakes, which is basically the sort of average standard for a keeper, and he definitely met that at least. His distribution maybe could have been better, would have calmed things down had he been playing a few less long balls in that sort of 60 to 80 minute period, or maybe a little bit earlier. The classic cliche that teams who do well win the games when they don't play well. Norwich seemed to be able to do that more than any other teams, and I don't want to say it was fully a bad performance. I think it was an alright performance, but it wasn't the level that we're hoping they can get to, despite looking like it might be in the first sort of 25 minutes. I think overall it was a result which Norwich fans will be happy with, especially given Bournemouth dropped points, losing 1-0 home to Luton, so Norwich will increase their gap to second and to third, and that's massive. Daniel Farke will be very happy with that, as well as some of the aspects of the performance. So overall, a good 3 points. Could have been better, but it certainly could have been worse, and I think we all would have taken that going into the game. For more great Norwich City content, head over to myfootballwriter.com and take a look at the Norwich Talk YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.